What's up, Archons? I'm Flightless Pheasant, and today is a video I have been looking forward to for months. Actually, since the beginning of this year when they announced that there was going to be a big summer event, and that it was going to be plot relevant, and it was going to be really exciting, and we know what it is now, and I'm really hyped. I would not have guessed that this was going to be it. I did have a couple of theories about what I thought the summer event was going to be, and this wasn't one of them, but hey, this is really cool. So, the Martian Civil War nears. Yeah, that's very, very exciting. I did a Houses of the Crucible Mars video where I talked about that I thought the Martian Civil War was kind of ongoing, but also kind of over, sort of in a Cold War state. But apparently we're going to be focusing in really hard on that. So let's go through this. I've read some of this, but I've not read some of it. So I want to start with the big announcement post, and then there's a post that is going into some of the details of how the event works, and I'm going to end it with the big lore blurb. So stick around to the end, because there's where all the lore stuff is, and I'm very, very excited, because they got a lot this time. So, here we go. Deploy your weakened reserves to the north, commanded Rick. Make them visible. Invite an attack. But keep your main strength well hidden in the western valley. The elders can never resist an easy target. When they attack our depleted forces, hit them hard from the west. Crush them. Humiliate them. After that, I think our glorious revolution will have all the soldiers it needs. Nice. Nice. And there's a whole lot more lore. There's a big old story thing. We'll get to that. But I want to go through this so the people who need to know the things that they want to know, need to know, or are prepared for, we can go to that. So, prepare for war! The future of the Crucible will forever change this August when the Martian Civil War comes to local game stores. This organized play event will be the first special event in Keyforge's history. Will you help the Ironyx Rebels triumph in their quest for recognition? Yeah. Or recognition and admiration, or will you swear allegiance to the elders and make examples of those looking to usurp the established power structure? Boo. Or maybe, yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling their cards are probably going to be really good. We'll get to that. Your battles will tell the tale yet to unfold. The rebels bring the fight, but the elders will look to end it. Yeah, look at these arts. So we'll talk about it in a minute, but there are going to be new unique cards for both sides of the fight, which makes me kind of want to do both sides, but it's fine. So this single-day event will run at LGSs around the world starting August 16th and going through September 25th. Yeah, it looks like the way this one works is your LGS is going to schedule a day for it, and then everyone's going to show up on that day, and they're going to play a special event. We'll go over the details of that event next. And then, you'll report your results, and the results will have an influence on the final outcome. So let's pop over here and take a look. So this is the article talking about the Martian Civil War and what you need to know. So starting August 16th, Ghost Galaxy invites Keyforge fans to visit a participating local retailer for the first time ever Keyforge special event, the Martian Civil War. This event follows the schism between the ruling factions of House Mars. By participating in this exciting event, players will be able to dictate the outcome of the war and change the face of the Crucible and Keyforge forever. There's an article talking about it. We'll go to that in a second. Events are expected to run anytime between August 16th and September 15th. Excuse me. Events running outside of this time period will be ineligible to report results. Recruiting allies for the war. In the Martian Civil War event, each player will represent either the Ironyx Rebels or Elder side of the conflict. Retailers that participate in the event will receive a kit containing an even assortment of Elder or Rebel pods with 12 cards representing the faction. These pods will include never-before-seen cards exclusive to each side. One event kit is required for every 6 players. So what that sounds like to me is that the event kits are going to be just 12 card pods of Mars and nothing else. And that there's going to be 12 of them in the kit, 3 that are Ironyx Rebels and 3 that are Elder. And when you show up to the event, you're going to pick, am I fighting for the Ironyx Rebels or am I fighting for the Elders? I do like this structure in some ways, but there's one thing about this structure I do not like. And that is, if the 2 pods unique cards, so if the unique cards for the Ironyx Rebels and the unique cards for the Elders are not incredibly well balanced against each other, this all falls apart. And it stops being about the players choosing which side they want to fight for, and it just becomes which side ended up with the better cards. Like, I'll give you an example from Magic. So back in the day when they did the new Phyrexia block, when Magic was doing its return to Mirrodin for the first time, the middle set, they did something like this, where they were like, well, you can choose to fight for the Mirrans, or you can fight for the Phyrexians. The problem was all the Phyrexian cards were just so much better than the Mirran cards that you couldn't win as the Mirrans. And so, of course, the Phyrexians won, and that's how the story shook out. And I'm concerned that we might see something like that here, where, like, for instance, the Elder cards might just be so much better than the Martian Rebels, than the Ironyx cards, that the Rebels basically never stood a chance because they just didn't have as good a cards. Which is why I really don't like this format for determining the outcome of the event. I would have much preferred a format where the winning player, regardless of the deck they played, could choose which side they wanted to support, so that the players are making that choice. And I get that that's a little less active engagement, and you're not quite representing your team per se, but it does give us as the player base more agency, and it kind of gets us away from that, like, gotcha, where the result was already determined before it ever started. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that they're doing that here necessarily. In fact, I think it's kind of unlikely, given what I know about Ghost Galaxy and the people behind it, that they, you know, are engineering a specific outcome on purpose. But even if it's not on purpose, if for instance, the Elder cards are just strictly better than the unique cards you get when you play as the Ironyx Rebels, then, you know, their victory is a foregone conclusion, and those of us who are on the side of the Ironyx Rebels in that instance, we're pretty much never going to win, and it can really be disheartening. So I was hopeful that it would be more like a self-reporting kind of thing, where you play the event and then you say which side you were on, or maybe just not a versus thing, because Keyforge is really good for storytelling, and it would have been nice if there had been, like, a Keyforge adventure with multiple endings, and based on the ending that your play group got to, you submit that, or something like that. I feel like that could be really good, and that way it's more about what you and your play group decided to do and decided to settle on as your ending that you wanted, and less about which pods have the better cards, you know what I mean? I really feel like this is a game that can benefit from not letting the mechanics get in the way of the fun. And I think maybe this won't do that, but maybe it will. We'll see. Okay. Well, I'll continue reading the thing. This event will be played using the sealed format rules with a special rule. Each player must use their assigned Rebel or Elder pod in their final deck. So that's the other thing, is you're going to get one Rebel or Elder pod and you're stuck with it, which is a bit of a bummer, but again, I kind of get it. It's a good sort of engagement thing, and I feel like this should be sort of a more casual event. I get that your wins are how you vote for your team, as it were, which again is why I think that maybe this format wasn't ideal for Keyforge. It feels a lot like what I've seen in other TCGs in the past, and I guess I've come to expect just a little more innovation from Keyforge and a little less rehashing the old territory, because this game is supposed to be so much different, so much more unique, and less about, you know, sort of the mid-maxing PvP meta, even though it is a PvP game. Just, you know, I was hopeful that we'd get a little more, but this does still sound interesting. Alright, so once your deck is crafted, each player will play 3 games, seeking victory for their side, so that they may be the faction standing at the end of the Martian Civil War. Each Martian Civil War event at a participating retailer will be held over 1 day and features a modified round-robin style of match pairings. Retailers may run multiple single-day events if desired. So it sounds like you can do more than one of these, and that a retailer can have more than one over the course of the month that they'll have time to do it. It also sounds like no matter what, you're only going to be playing 3 games, which is probably for the best, because it keeps these events nice and short, regardless of participation. You can keep it down to about 45-minute rounds at most, so 3 hours or so, a little less than 3 hours, plus deck creation, which I think you still come down to about 3 hours, which is not too bad. That's pretty reasonable for an event like this. And it's not exactly playing best of 3, it sounds like. I mean, they don't go into specifics here about how your wins are reported for the outcome. But my guess is if you pick an Ironyx pod and you say win 2 out of 3 of your games, your 2 wins will be recorded, and they'll add up all of the other Ironyx pods by all the other players and all the other games and all the other game stores. And whichever side has the most wins is the side that will win the Civil War, as it were. That's my guess. They don't say as much here, because the only other thing they talk about is how to find stores and how stores can get the event kits, which is good information, so we are going to go over it. Retailers are invited to pre-order event kits to support this event by going to Ghost Galaxy's official retail website. Please note, any approved Ghost Galaxy retailer account will be required to complete purchase. For the moment, these kits will be English language only. We'll be working with our international partners to make these kits available in foreign languages also, but we cannot guarantee that all languages will be represented. Yeah, they've been working on foreign language partners for a minute, and they've been having a little bit of trouble with it, so... Details of all retailers confirmed to be running events will appear below in the interactive map. Please contact these retailers to see when they're running events near you. So it's not filled in yet because today's the first day, but... I'm going to be talking to my LGS. I'm going to try to get him excited about it and see if I can get him to set up an event. Do remember, you need 1 event kit per 12 for every 6 players. 1 event kit for every 6 players. 1 event kit for every 6 players. Okay, so I guess there's only 6 pods in the event kit, which means 3 Rebel and 3 Elder. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. It also sounds like Elder versus Elder and Rebel versus Rebel is a thing that could happen, although they did say it's a modified round robin style, which makes me think maybe they're going to try to keep it so that Elders only fight Ironyx and Ironyx only fight Elders. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if the playstyle software can support that, but we'll find out. And then this is the lore blurb. This is the lore blurb. If you guys really like me doing voices, this is the thing where we're going to be doing voices. But Ghost Galaxy will be putting on an exciting event at local retailers from August 16th to September 15th, 2024. This event focuses on the Martian Civil War, a schism between the forces of House Mars. For additional information on the mechanics of the event and how to participate, they go link back to the one I just went to. Here we provide some narrative background on the epic Marzoidian? I'm going to go with Marzoidian struggle. Our story follows Borka Rick leading Ironyx Rebels against the machinations of the Elders, and Memrox the Red engaging in plots of his own to gain control of the Martian Empire. Enjoy. Short stories! We haven't had short stories since the Tales of the Crucible book, I think. And those were kind of long. And then before that, we had the ones that were by Ink of the Spider before the release of the first set, before the release of Call of the Archons, in order to hype everybody up. So I'm really excited. I mean, these are very short, but they're still good. So here we go. The manufactories and sensors arrays surrounding Zypzar are fully within our control, sir. The city is completely cut off from the rest of Nova Hellas. The Iron Captain stood like a statue, delivering his report in a loud, flat voice. No embellishment, no emotion. The perfect model of a Martian soldier. We have 8 regiments at full strength standing by, plus 4 more now in reserve at 62%, 57%, 44%, and 39% respectively, sir. Borka Rick listened attentively in silence as always. An elder would have already interrupted with a dozen questions, followed by 24 new demands. But Borka Rick was no elder. He was a soldier of Mars. Martian soldiers were disciplined, obedient, efficient, and they were supposed to be completely devoid of any individualism. That, at least, was how the elders described them. We've captured enough armaments to fully equip an army twice our present size, sir, but we lack sufficient quantities of soldiers to use them, continued the Iron Captain. You've done well, Iron Captain, said Borka Rick. You will get the soldiers you need. Our propaganda machine is proving very effective. Every day, more soldiers see the truth of their situation. They are low only because the elders sit above them. All they need is a push to rise up and join the revolution. The Iron Captain's stony face cracked with a hint of a smile. What are your orders, sir? Deploy your weakened reserves to the north, commanded Borcherick. Make them visible. Invite an attack. But keep your main strength well hidden in the western valley. The elders can never resist an easy target. When they attack our depleted forces, hit them hard from the west. Crush them. Humiliate them. After that, I think our glorious revolution will have all the soldiers it needs. Nothing inspires revolt like a failure of leadership, sir, said the Iron Captain. Just make sure it's the elders' failure, and not ours, Captain, Borcherick cautioned. The Iron Captain snapped a perfect salute, turned on his heel, and marched away. Memrox the Red was dreaming again. Dreaming of a day when he didn't have to listen to the incessant babble of fools like Yuxlix, Zip, and Blipip. Perhaps fascinating was the more accurate term. Fantasizing was the more accurate term. Because of all the Martian elders in the extended psychic network, he was the most junior. It was going to take a lot of maneuvering and no small amount of good fortune to rise to the top of this mess. And now they've taken control of Zipzyar. Was it Zip who just said that? Memrox wondered. He really should be paying more attention to the meeting. The rebels seemed to be far more capable than any of the elders had assumed, and this created opportunities for Memrox the others didn't see. They'll be lucky to maintain control for a day, said Uxux. Their minds simply aren't capable of real thinking. Ah yes, the omnipresent prejudice, the habitual scorn, the fatal underestimates. Memrox couldn't help but smile. They'll never learn. He was counting on it. They're clearly capable of organizing, said Blipip. They defeated your army, didn't they? Yes, please start the blame game, thought Memrox. That was not my fault, screamed Uxlix. Instead of fighting the rebels, you creatures ate your own troops, said Blipip. I needed more time to condition them, Uxiel snapped back. We're not talking about fighting, said Zip. We're talking about governing a society. The rebels simply can't do it. We've seen to that in their genetic design. No, thought Memrox. It was finally time for him to speak. You're assuming too much. The rebels will not try to govern the same way we do. They will simply change the rules. Impossible, said Zip. Ridiculous, said Uxlix. Do you have a suggestion, said Blipip, or do you simply intend to annoy us with your uninformed opinions? Now Memrox had to be cautious. He needed to say just enough to gain a little influence in this council, but no more. If he overextended, he would make himself a target. Tell them what they want to hear. Feed their egos. The soldiers have won so far because you have been playing their game. You've been trying to beat them at the one thing they know how to do well. Fight. Well, I say do not fight them. You're the most senior, most intelligent Martians in the Empire. Simply outthink them. Make plans, set traps, and let them walk into them. Let their impatience be their undoing. There was silence. Memrox could tell he had them all thinking. They would think and plan and argue and plan some more. That's what the elders were best at. And while these fools were all wasting their time, Memrox would make the rebels his weapon. He would feed them information, steer them to the targets of his choosing, and let them eliminate the other elders one at a time. It was a bold plan, but that's what fortune favors. I like this. I like this a lot. It's setting up sort of Memrox, not exactly versus Borcherick, more like it's more like if the elders win, it's really Memrox who's winning, as he rebuilds their society in the way he wants it. And if the rebels win, Borcherick wins, and there's a new Martian hierarchy. It's kind of interesting. I'm excited to see what this means for future Keyforge sets and like how it's going to affect things. I imagine, at least in the short term, it'll mean that the cards in the side that wins are the ones that will get reprinted sooner, or at least more often. So if the Ironyx Rebels win, then the cards that were unique to the Ironyx pods will be the ones that get reprinted, and if the if the Elders win, then the cards that were in the Elders pods are going to be the ones that get reprinted. I don't know that. That's just a guess. But I like the lore blurbs. They feel great. Memrox all brooding and thinking and plotting and scheming. Also, I like the knowledge that he's the youngest of the elders. That's interesting. It also only calls out Yixlil, Zip, and Blipip. Those are not the only elders we've seen, so I'm interested to know why those three in particular. And then I was correct. Borkarik is the leader of the Ironyx. We didn't have full confirmation of that when I made my Houses of the Crucible Mars video, but it was pretty clear to me that he was. So I felt okay going out on a limb and saying that he was, and I think this is pretty much confirmation that he's at least very high up in the Ironyx hierarchy. So yeah, so that's the thing. Thoughts and comments down in the comments below. I'm excited. This looks interesting. I don't know if I love the format. I want to know more details on like how the reporting works and how they're going to keep track of who won and who lost and what that's going to mean going forward, which I don't know if they're going to tell us too much of that before we get a little bit closer to the date. I'm very, very excited. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah, tell me what you're thinking down in the comments. Which side are you on? Are you Team Ironyx? Are you Team Elder? I might even make a poll for that one, because that sounds like a good poll to me. So, yeah. That's all I have for you today. So until next time, later, Archons.